Breaking for the lead.
They told Alysheba he was not built for greatness, not because he lacked speed, but because he could not breathe the way a champion must. In workouts, he would tilt his head, fight for air, and fade when the real running began. In horse racing, oxygen is the first currency. Without it, the stretch drive becomes a wall. Every second vanished as he gasped, and even his barn wondered if the hype was a mistake. Then one small decision changed everything. Something inside his routine shifted, and the same horse came back with a different engine. Suddenly he could relax early, settle behind the pace, and still unleash a finishing kick when the field turned for home. And then he became a legend, leaving behind records that demanded respect. So how did a horse that could not breathe like a normal athlete rise into racing history? Subscribe to support our team and stay with us for the rest of this remarkable story. Alysheba was not a lucky headline. He proved himself on the biggest stages in the United States. He won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness Stakes, then later captured the Breeders' Cup Classic, the race that decides the championship of a season. He could settle behind the pace, handle traffic, and still deliver a finishing kick at the classic distance of 1 1/4 miles. In 1988, he did more than win races. He owned the year and earned Horse of the Year. He turned doubt into a measuring stick, for good. When people talk about greatness, they point to races like his. Later, the Racing Hall of Fame added his name because his record demanded it. Alysheba was bred for the spotlight long before he earned it. He was sired by Alydar, a name tied to class and stamina, and out of Beersheba, a mare with her own history on the track. He was bred by Preston Madden and owned by Dorothy and Pamela Scharbauer, the kind of connections that do not chase noise, they chase the right horse. His trainer was Jack Van Berg, a veteran who trusted routine, timing, and tough decisions. And when the pressure climbed, the rider in the saddle was Chris McCarron, known for patience, balance, and calm hands in heavy traffic. As a 2-year-old, Alysheba showed enough to raise expectations. He ran third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and finished second in the Hollywood Futurity, proving he belonged with the best of his crop. He looked like a classic type, built for the distance that defines champions, 1 1/4 miles, also called 10 furlongs. The dream was clear. Alysheba was supposed to become a headliner. The problem was his body did not always cooperate. The early signs were promising, but promise does not cash tickets in the spring. When Alysheba turned 3, people expected him to take the next step and start winning the races that shape a Triple Crown trail. Instead, the form came back uneven. In a race where he was supposed to dominate, he did not finish like a horse with a big engine. He ran as if something was holding him back, not in his legs, but deeper. Watch a horse when the pace quickens. The best ones drop their head, relax, and breathe like a machine. Alysheba did the opposite. He would lift his head, look uncomfortable, and lose his rhythm right when the field began to run in earnest. That kind of pattern makes a barn ask hard questions. Was he simply not as good as his pedigree suggested? Or was there a hidden problem stealing his air, and with it, his future? A racehorse can hide pain, but it cannot hide a lack of air. After one more uneven run on the Triple Crown path, the team looked past the stopwatch and watched the breathing. Alysheba was lifting his head and losing his rhythm when the pace sharpened, a sign that the engine was willing, but the airway was not. Veterinarians found the culprit, a condition called an entrapped epiglottis. The epiglottis is a small flap in the throat that helps control airflow. When it is trapped, the horse cannot move air freely at full speed, and every drive in the stretch becomes a fight. Jack Van Berg had a choice: accept the talent as wasted or fix the problem and gamble the season on one decision. The barn chose to act. A simple procedure released the airway and the change showed up. In morning gallops, his stride smoothed out. The early fractions no longer pushed him into panic. Chris McCarron could feel it in the reins. In racing terms, Alysheba could finally settle, breathe, and finish. Not a new horse, but the same horse with his lungs back in the race. The comeback race was supposed to be a clean answer. At Keeneland, in the Bluegrass Stakes, Alysheba finally looked like the horse everyone had imagined. He tracked the pace, moved with purpose on the far turn, and fought through the stretch like a true contender. He hit the wire first, and for a moment the question felt settled. Then the review changed the story. In the final yards, Alysheba drifted and made contact, and the stewards disqualified him. The victory disappeared from the record book, replaced by a painful lesson. Even when you are best, racing can still punish you. For Jack Van Berg and Chris McCarron, it was not just a lost trophy. It was a warning that the Kentucky Derby would not forgive mistakes. The talent was real, the breathing issue was fading, but the margins were razor thin. Now they had to carry that anger and focus into the biggest race in American sport, and they had to do it with the whole world watching. On the first Saturday in May, the Kentucky Derby is not just a race. It is 20 horses, tight space, and one long test of nerve. Alysheba came in carrying everything from bluegrass, the talent, the anger, and the need to prove it on the biggest stage. Chris McCarron did not ask him to be a hero early. He let the pace form, kept Alysheba settled, and saved his run for the far turn, where the Derby usually decides who can breathe and who cannot. Turning for home, the field compressed. Horses drifted, shoulders brushed, and the room to move vanished. Alysheba surged between rivals, then caught a moment of chaos. He clipped heels, stumbled hard, and lost his balance at the worst possible time. For a heartbeat, it looked like the story would end on the dirt. McCarron stayed centered, hands quiet, and asked for one thing: forward. Alysheba found his stride again before the stretch drive could swallow him. He lowered his head, took the air he had once been denied, and kept coming when others began to tire. In the final yards, he did what champions do. He fought through traffic and finished first in the Kentucky Derby. The horse that could not breathe like a normal athlete had just survived the most unforgiving race in the United States. 2 weeks after the Derby, the Preakness Stakes asks a different question. Can you do it again when everyone sees you coming? The pace is sharper, the turns arrive faster, and there is no room for doubt. Alysheba faced the same main rival, bet twice, and the race turned into a test of will. McCarron kept Alysheba within striking distance, calm and breathing, then asked him to quicken at the right moment. In the stretch, Alysheba dug in and refused to let the Derby be dismissed as luck. He went past Bet twice and held him off to win the Preakness. Now, it was 2 classics in a row. The horse with the breathing problem had become the horse nobody could shake. The Belmont Stakes is where legends are tested at the edge of endurance. It is 1 1/2 miles, a distance that exposes any weakness, physical or mental. After 2 classic wins, Alysheba arrived with the weight of a triple crown on his back. The crowd wanted a coronation, but the Belmont does not care about momentum. The pace did not unfold the way the Derby and Preakness had. When the field reached the far turn and the real staying run began, Alysheba could not summon the same finishing power. He was checked in traffic and lost position, then flattened out when the leaders kept grinding. Bet twice surged away and turned the race into a different kind of lesson. Alysheba finished 4th. It was not a collapse of talent, it was the reality of a brutal distance and a race that punishes anything less than perfect. The crown slipped away, and the story took a darker turn. Later that year, Alysheba returned to the Breeders' Cup Classic with something to reclaim. The race was 1 1/4 miles, the championship distance, and the stage was built for a horse who could settle and finish. McCarron gave him a patient ride, saving air and ground, waiting for the moment to strike. In the stretch, Alysheba fought all the way to the wire. But this time, the racing gods took their payment. He was caught by Ferdinand at the finish by a nose, the smallest margin the sport can measure. After losing a crown in New York, he lost a championship by a nose. The message was brutal. Greatness is not given. It is earned again and again. Alysheba did not spend 1988 chasing redemption. He chased control. The season opened with Grade 1 wins in the Strub Stakes and the Santa Anita Handicap. Proof the Belmont disappointment did not define him. The loss by a nose in the Breeders' Cup. Classic still lingered, but it became fuel, not damage. Through the summer and fall, he kept stacking elite races: Iselin, Woodward, Meadowlands Cup, and the Breeders' Cup Classic. 6 Grade 1 victories that turned a comeback into domination. The numbers made the point. In the Woodward at Belmont Park, at 1 1/4 miles, he stopped the clock in 1 minute 59 2/5, a track record. Weeks later, at the Meadowlands Cup at the same distance, he went even faster, 1 minute 58 4/5, another track record. That is classic distance speed, not a sprint flash, but power that holds when the race stretches long. McCarron rode him like a seasoned professional. Let him settle, let him breathe, then tip him out and ask for a sustained run. He handled pace pressure, traffic, and the long grind without wasting energy. Even when conditions turned against him in the Breeders' Cup Classic, he stayed composed and finished the job. By the end of the year, the industry had no debate left. Alysheba was Horse of the Year and Champion Older Male on the biggest tracks in America. Not because the story was inspiring, but because the performances were undeniable. Great racehorses do not just win, they leave a standard behind. Alysheba entered the Racing Hall of Fame because his best days were not accidents. He carried class at the classic distance, and he showed that a career can turn on one hard decision and a lot of discipline. After racing, he became a breeding stallion, then later returned to Kentucky, where fans could see him up close, not as a headline, but as a living memory. In the end, his life closed far from the roar of a grandstand, but the record remains. He was the horse who learned to breathe and then taught the sport how greatness looks. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe and share your favorite Alysheba moment in the comments.